I'm proud of our guys, even though we lost, and you guys don't hear me say that very often. We played Kofi and Curbelo a minute and a half together. Was all we played 30 minutes against a top 4 team without Kofi on the court, and couldn't be prouder of the way Ben, Luke Goody, they injected us with life, with their effort, their energy, to come from 7 down with 2 minutes to go, made shots, gave ourselves opportunities. Obviously, we didn't close it out. You've got to make free throws down the stretch, and we had a hard time keeping them off the line, in particular Ivy. But I thought we fought in the post. I thought we did a good job, and I thought we grew out of that game. But now it's on to Maryland, a team we just played not too far back, a game that to be very honest, we didn't play very well in that ball game. I thought our coming off a quick turn, being on the road at Minnesota, and watching the game a couple of times since then, I thought was probably as lifeless as we've been, and that excludes DeMonte. DeMonte was tremendous. Dante Scott, he did a great job on. But if you remember, Trent got going a little bit in the second half and transition, and it was a big key. But since then, Maryland's won. They've played well. They didn't play great in their last one, but Michigan had a lot to do with that. So, place that we have not won, and we'll have to play great to accomplish that on Friday.
It didn't end well the last time you visited Maryland, and it seemed like you made some major changes after that game. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Well, I mean, we've had a couple of tough ones there. I go back to my day at Oklahoma State. I had a really tough game there last second as well. But it is what it is. All we've tried to do is compete and play hard on the road, and we'll have to do that again.
I guess specifically what I mean is that Io did not have the ball in his hands at the end, and Dre got stripped by Cowan. And after that, Io became the closer. Is that how it worked out for you?
No. The way I remember it was Andre got fouled pretty hard on the play, and they didn't call it. We went to Georgie a lot in that game. Stick Smith made a couple really good defensive plays. Trent was hurt in that game, took on a flagrant foul, took a big cut. So there were a lot of factors in that game that led to that decision at that time.
Thanks, Brad.
Hey, Brad, obviously we're going to talk to Andre later today. I'm just wondering, it felt like he had the weight of the world on his shoulder early in the season with everybody out. How did you like his approach, or what did you think of his approach in his first game back?
What do you mean everybody out?
When you had Kofi out early in the season, the Marquette game, all of that, just felt like he had a lot of pressure on himself. Like, how do you feel like he approached?
Yeah, we should have beat him. I think that everybody deals with circumstances a little bit differently. I think that, with what he was dealing with after his getting, his concussion and coming off his protocol, he was fine.
And how did you see him, Brad, handle all of that? I mean, obviously it's got to be tough to go through, tough to be out and watching the team, but how did you see him? What did you learn about him through that entire process?
He wants to win. He wants to compete. He wants to play. And yet there's tremendous appreciation for what he went through, the tremendous challenges he continues to go through, the severity, it's from as we've since found out, and I mean, just the pain, his tolerance for that was huge. And so my hat's off to him for him having the passion to want to get back and compete and to fight through some things that weren't easy.
Thanks, Fred.
Coach, are there some challenges? And if so, what are some of those challenges in working Andre back into the lineup and still maintaining that chemistry that you were building with Adam?
No doubt. We went through them with Kofi coming back. We went through them with Kofi and Bello haven't played together all year. Literally. I mean, they had a somewhat lackadaisical performance, and it's unfair to say that they actually played with Curbelo, even though he was physically on the court with everything that he had going at the time we were in Kansas City. But yeah, and there's no doubt, and we're in a great place. We've been able to win a lot of games, and I think this has very much become Trent's team. A guy that's made big plays, a guy that stepped into that role, and you don't just change that overnight. And it's a subtle deal. We were well ingrained last year when Io went out, and yet I was concerned bringing him back after 3 games because we'd played so well. And so, it's just a challenge that sometimes takes some time, and we'll have to keep continuing to work on that. And the best way to do that's through practice.
Along those same lines, Andre likes to create. He's really dynamic with the ball. How do you balance that with the ball movement that you like to see?
Yeah, it's one of those great challenges. I mean, we've got Plummer coming off a game. He made 6 threes. We've got really, really good perimeter shooting. And again, we've got to find that mesh where those guys continue to get the opportunities. And yet, the one thing about Bello, and I always go back to last year because we haven't truly seen him this year. He was the top assist guy per 40 minutes, and he'll make everybody better.
Thanks, Coach.
Brad, on that note, last year, Andre was so good in sparking things off the bench, and he obviously did that in his first game back. Is there a case for him to keep doing that?
Why would I change that? That didn't change him. I mean, why? Because you guys think he should start? That ain't changing.
And you have said before about his process that it's sometimes been a step forward and a step back kind of thing. Do you expect him to be able to continue to just keep playing consistently now?
I don't know that. I wish I could give you a definitive answer on that, but I don't know that. And we've learned to live in a. I'm hopeful this process. He's to that point where this process is behind him, and the significance of that is behind him. But I know one thing for sure. It's it's always been day to day, and it's the reaction to that day that happens and controls what happens the next day.
All right, thank you.
Hey, Coach, you kind of touched on it a little bit that you haven't had your team together all year, and they played a minute 30 together the other day. Do you kind of feel like it's kind of Happy New Year? You finally got your team together, and you've already proven you're a top 20 team without those parts. I mean, it must be pretty exciting in that respect.
Yes and no. You'd like to be clicking like Purdue is. Purdue's had their whole team, same starting 5, other than maybe bouncing Ivy and Williams around a little bit. But yeah, you're more comfortable as a coach when you feel that. But it is. We can't change it. I know. I talked with Izzo, a while back. I remember the year they make a Final Four run. And I don't know, maybe it was Mateen Cleaves was hurt, and they brought him back in late January, maybe early February, and had 7 or 8 losses and went on Final Four runs. So, it takes a little bit of time. And from that side of things, yes, I'm really excited because I know how good, we can be. I know how good this group was last year. So, but I can't change the past. I'm not looking in the rearview mirror. I'm looking forward, and we'll handle all that stuff.
You had Bello not bring the ball off the court the other day. You said maybe to ease a little bit of the pressure on him or ease him in. Will that be the case again for a while, you think?
Yes.
Thank you.
Hey, Brad, with the conditioning aspect for Andre, is that just game reps? I mean, how much can that be replicated inside of oven?
Well, you can do a lot with just physical conditioning. He has done nothing. I mean, very, very, very minimal. Now it shows what a freak he is, and I mean that in a good way. He practiced 2 days, guys, and he had a colored jersey on so that we could avoid contact with him. It's kind of like putting the pink jersey on a quarterback. You don't hit him. And then he goes out and plays in a real game. Other than shoot some balls, he had done very, very little, very, very little preparing for that game. And we got a call, from the group of doctors that have been working with him that he was cleared, and that came at 4:30 in the afternoon the day before. So, we knew we'd give him a little run, but for his conditioning to be what it was, and he was gassed at the end. But he'll grow into that. He's an elite athlete. He's got elite strength, and that comes easy for him.
And then I know you said everything's been reactionary. For you personally, with the 24 to 36 hours after the game, were you wondering, like, how's this look this far removed from the game? Is he still doing okay? Like, I guess, what was that like to manage?
Yeah, that's, we stayed daily contact with his doctors and our trainers. We're past the point of asking him daily what his symptoms are. It's just him. It's, if there's nothing, we go. And we're assuming that's the case from this point on.
Thank you, Brad.
Hey, Brad, good morning. I kind of also wanted to ask about Curbelo. I feel like that's a popular topic, but to see him come back into the game and the reception he got from the fans throughout this entire process, how much joy did it bring you to see him play the way he did?
You get into the game, and I really didn't hear the crowd until I watched the film, and I actually had the volume up. And no, that's what makes this place great. And they love their Illini. He's been a guy that has been very popular with our fans. He should be, and he's been out. And that's had to make him feel really good. And it makes me feel good. You never want to play shorthanded as a coach, and you feel like you've been doing that for a long time. We've managed, but it's always a good feeling to get back to what you consider a full boat, and so we're excited about that.
And then I guess, not to put words in his mouth if you're not comfortable doing that, what do you think the moment meant for him when he was going up to the table to check in and everyone in the stadium seems to kind of realize like his return is now coming?
Oh, I'm sure there's anxiety. I'm sure there was a little bit of nerves. I'm sure there was a little bit of joy. And, I would expect all of that. He was pretty amped at shoot around, and, when he found out he was going to be able to get a few minutes. So yeah, that's just human nature.
Hey, Brad, just how much did Andre's presence maybe elevate his teammates, maybe boost confidence for a guy like Ben, who had one of his better games and maybe offensively, at least, thrived a little more with Andre?
Yeah. I mean, that's where Dre elevates people, and he does that with his ability to share the basketball and pass it and create opportunities. But I think Ben's effort stands on its own, with or without, because Ben does that every day. And no one in this program has ever worked harder than Ben. And the hustle plays, the diving on the floor, the post defense, we see that every day because he goes against Kofi. So that stands on its own. But the opportunities to score sure presented itself the way they guarded it, and it's great for Ben. He puts in a lot of work.
And to pivot in an entirely different direction, with Dane on board now, you've kind of got a throwback transfer in a way where he just gets to work for a semester. How important is that going to be for him, and what are you looking for him to do there?
Love it. Love it. Love it. They're my favorite type, the guys that have to sit out and actually can learn and work. Dane we're really excited about him. He's 6'9". Right now he's probably close to 280. He won't be that, obviously, but to just have Fletch time, to have scout team time, to learn terminology, to go through individual work every single day. And Dane is so skilled and so gifted. I mean, we loved him in high school. Right hand, left hand, he can handle it. He's a little bit like, and it's unfair because he hasn't done it in the game yet, but Trevion Williams except way better left hand. But he's got those type of skills and that ability. And so I'm excited to have him, and I'm looking forward to watching him have a great rest of the semester and summer as he transforms his body and his conditioning.
Yeah, thanks, Brad.
Brad, I meant to ask you this before the first Maryland game, but it's been over 30 years since Danny and the Miracles, and I was curious if we've reached a generation that might just not know how good Danny was as a player.
From a guy who played against him,
right?
Wow. Yeah, wow. If Danny played today, he'd be even better, because Danny was that guy that 6'11", could handle it, could shoot it. He was the modern day. And I mean, today, I mean, he'd be dominant. He was an elite passer. Unfortunately, as a pro, he had knee injuries, but was still an all-star. I mean, literally one of the best college players I've ever played against, and been on the floor with, and I've been on the floor with a few, but man, was he good. Oh my gosh. But yeah, nobody has any idea how good a player Danny was.
Thanks, Brad.
Hey, Brad, I just want to follow up on Danger. You always talk about getting pieces that fit together. How does Dane really fit in with the rest of your front court moving forward?
Yeah, and he's a little bit different from this standpoint. He's a guy that you can really run a lot of offense through, because he really passes it. His skill set, and then just his physicality. Here's a guy who's 6'9". He's got a 7'7" wingspan. Unbelievable shoulders. I mean, he's so broad through his shoulders and chest. It's a unique body, and I say that in a really positive way. But he's skilled. I mean, he handles it like a guard. He passes it, and just watched him yesterday in our individual workout segment with our team. I mean, here's right hand, left hand, just as easy, and as you wouldn't know if he was right-handed or left-handed watching him. So, having a guy that's skilled, having a guy that can play on the block and score baskets, and having a guy who can play out and be an elite passer is truly exciting.
Obviously, you did a lot of work on him, high school, recruiting him, liked him. How much work do you have to do with transfers I know he had an injury, and just kind of getting a sense of what his year was like with Baylor? Like, how much background work do you have to do after high school?
Yeah, you do your due diligence. You talk to their people. I love the fact that He was with Scott. I love the fact that he's been a part of a national championship and seen what that looks like. I think there's tremendous value in that. And sure, he's got to adapt to a new culture, but in ours, in the way we do things, but he's been a part of a really, really good one. And that's exciting. And, you don't have just his high school background to go on. Now you can gather all his information from his time, even though he was injured. But that's exciting stuff. And we did our due process there.
Thanks, Brad.
Hey, Brad, one more on Dane, if I could. Outside of conditioning with Fletch, what's the most important thing you want to see him accomplish over the course of these next few months?
And it's really simple. It's not a complicated deal. He's not going to help us win a game this year. I want him to be in the best shape. I want him to transform his body, and then just simply learn how we go about doing things. And there's a big difference by having a semester where you're not rushed doing that, or you get them late. You get them in the summer, and then the summer's a sped up process. And this kid's going to be Dane's going to be able to take part in our weight workouts, see how we do it during the season, practice, individual work with coaches every day. There's a guy who won't travel with us, so he can stay here. He gets bought into nutrition. He just gets a magnified, very intense workout session and weights and individuals, and doesn't have to worry about the games. And that is so big. And that's what Jake and Hutch got when they set out. And, that unfortunately Hutch's been hurt, but, Jake's blossomed into a heck of a player. And, that's the value of sitting out. It's pretty big.
And I know roster construction varies year to year, but do you foresee the goal of having a scholarship available mid-year moving forward? Or, I know maybe hard to kind of predict out all the way.
I think every year's got its own challenges. In a perfect world, I'll answer it this way. I would love to have at least one open every semester. And I think that's the new world we're going to be in. I think you're going to see, I've heard some coaches say they're not going to take more than 9 or 10 on scholarship so that they can manage the guys that they have and try to avoid losing guys. I don't know if I'm at that point yet, but also have when guys leave a semester and have the availability to bring them in and set them out. It's as close as we're going to get to being able to do that. And, in a perfect world, to answer your question, I hope I have one every year, at least.
Thanks, Brad.
Hey, Brad, I'd also like to follow up on Dane. You've talked a lot about the advantages of this opportunity for him to get in the weight room and get more physically fit. You say he's about 280 now. Is there a goal to get him down to a certain area, or physically speaking, is there like a goal that you want to get him to?
No, Fletch handles all that. I think that the Fletch does a great job in, measuring, not to get too technical, muscle mass and how he puts that on, and, what his body can hold. And the biggest challenge is, he's extremely flexible. Fletch was fired up because he can do the splits. So having guys who are flexible is a huge part, because then you can once you're flexible, you can gain strength really quickly. But it's just about making him strong. And then, putting him in that position where we figure out what that optimal weight is, where he can play the longest, where he can recover the quickest and still be effective. So there'll be a little give and take in that, I'm sure.
Thanks, Coach.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Brad.
Yep, that's it, Coach. Thank you.
All right, we'll be on standby for a few.
Yeah, perfect. It was tough. Obviously not being able to be out there with my guys. Definitely one of the toughest times of my life. We thought we couldn't, I couldn't really do anything as soon as, I started getting some symptoms and stuff like that. And that's just what kind of makes sense. You get a crazy headache and it's like you can't really do anything. Like it was that bad. Like physically, I just couldn't be myself, and that was probably the hardest thing, not being able to be myself, because I know the kind of person I am, and not being able to be myself. That happy guy that brings the energy, and it's always just bringing that constant energy in practice, and giggles, and not making everything so serious. You can't really, you got to have some sort of fun at times. So that, it was such a tough time that it was frustrated almost every day, getting headaches literally every single day. But I battled. I think having such great teammates fighting for me and holding things down while I was out, I think that was probably the best thing that could have happened, because they were fighting really hard, and they had my back, and right now I'm just excited to be back, because now I get to fight with them, just like they were fighting without me. Now I get to fight with them, and that's just what I'm most excited about.
I remember at the Milwaukee game, you went down with your hands, around your head on the side of were you in pain the whole time, or did it sort of come and go? Did it come suddenly?
Yeah, that game was a weird one. I don't know. I definitely wasn't feeling like I wasn't feeling myself. I didn't know what was going on, to be honest. And that's why, we just let the professionals handle it. But I definitely, wasn't feeling, and I'm not gonna sit here and make an excuse 2 months later, but like that just wasn't me. And I definitely, regret some of the decisions that I made, obviously trying to make too much or something, because, knowing that something wasn't right, I could have definitely made better decisions. But of course, at the moment I wasn't. And I feel like that's what, led to so many mistakes, down the stretch. So.
All right. Great to have you back.
Appreciate it, man. Thank you.
They say in sports that the last step in your rehab is to play. And, to reach what is, game shape or match fit or whatever you would say in sports, for you and for this process, like, what did that feel like physically and mentally? Like when did you kind of know?
Yeah, it was, recently, to be honest, once I got some answers throughout the process, and that, I think that was the best thing we did, just to kind of let the professionals handle it. And once I kind of got those answers of what's going on, I just started to slowly realize, okay, now I got the answers. Like having the answers for the test, like you go really confident, and you're gonna get a good grade. So knowing that, I started coming to practice like I know I'm gonna be fine. I know what I gotta do. I just gotta keep pushing and keep working through it, and doing the things I gotta do. And as soon as I started doing that, I knew it was just a matter of days, because I just started following the instructions of what doctor said to do, and it was just a matter of days. I knew I was gonna be ready to go.
And then in your first response, you talked about like you had made some mistakes. Like, what were those mistakes and how did you correct them?
What do you mean? Like, how do you correct them? Like, what do you mean?
Were you referring to mistakes on the court or off the court?
Oh yeah, just just both on the court and off the court. Sometimes throughout the process, like I'll either try to do too much while I'm trying to get back, where I maybe could have slowed things down a little bit, but I feel like just wanting to get back on the court, so quick with the guys, I think that sometimes led to maybe a few setbacks. Maybe some of the days I will not be so good, just because I'm so anxious to get back with the guys. But that's you learn that throughout as the days go by, and you mature. And, I've never had this kind of injury before. So sometimes there was days where I didn't really know how to deal with it. But, that's why we have professionals, and that's why we have, a great team, a great staff of doctors that were able to say, hey, like, this is what you got to do. It's, this, that, don't do this, don't do that. And, that's how I was able to get back.
Like Rob said, it's great to have you back. So thanks for doing this.
Thank you, man.
Hey, Andre, good to see you again, man. I'm curious, you said you've never dealt with this before. Obviously, it sounded like maybe every day was kind of different in terms of what you were experiencing. How scary was that? I mean, just because it was so new.
Yeah, it was scary, man. I've had concussions before, but nothing like this one. And it's scary when, like I said, when you don't really have a lot of answers, and you don't have a lot of knowledge of what's going on. It's something that as I'm sure you guys, Coach Underwood said, like, it's a day-to-day thing. Like, some days where, like, okay, like, I'm really good, but some other days where, like, okay, like, I don't know what's going on. Like, why am I feeling like this? So it was definitely scary, not knowing what was going on or what was going to happen down the stretch. There was time where I'm like, okay, like, this seems like it's gonna be forever. This seems like, I'm never gonna be back. So, typical college athlete, mindset, when you get an injury like this, you start thinking about the worst, because you don't want to be in shock when you get the news of, like, okay, either you can't play or you can't do this, you can't do that for this long. So, I was just trying to, at the end of the day, I was trying to stay positive, but at the same time, I was trying to have a mindset where if I got some bad news, I was trying, like, I didn't get to a bad space if that would have happened. So I was trying to stay in the middle.
Was there a point you thought, like, I might not play again this season?
Oh yeah. There was many times that happened. But once again, that's why we have a great staff here, to support my family, my friends, my people back in New York. Like, I had a tremendous amount of support, and I'm just, very thankful for those people that was there, and, they know who they are. So very thankful.
Thanks, man. Good to see you again.
Thank you.
Bello, you were such a ball of energy during game days when you weren't playing. But how tough was it to not be playing? How tough was it to watch the guys and not? I mean, you have such a passion for the game. How tough was it to just be a spectator?
It was very, very tough, man. Like you said, I was dying to be out there with the guys. It was such a, like, coming to this year, so many great expectations, and coming in, for the team personally, for other guys too. So I was just very excited for this year, and I still am, and I still believe the things that I said before the season. I think we're that team. I know it for a fact, and we just got to continue to work, and that's why it was so tough, to be out, and that's why I always try to have that energy in the bench, because I couldn't be that selfish to say, okay, I'm going through this, I'm going through that, like, okay, like, I'm not going to support my guys, like, I'm just going to deal with it on my own. Like, I couldn't be that selfish, and I'm not that kind of guy. So that's why I will continue, whether I play, whether I not play, like, I will continue to support my guys, and live, whether I'm playing or not, live it out on the bench or on the court, because I couldn't be that kind of person at the moment.
I mean, even without you, the team's in first place in the Big Ten. I mean, all the goals are still there. I mean, it's a late start for you, but I mean, all those expectations can still be reached. I mean, it still feels like this season's in front of you.
Yeah, definitely, man. That's why I said what I said. I still believe it, and I still believe in us. And like I said, we just got to continue to work, and then I believe that we can still do special things.
Thank you.
Good morning, Andre. Good to have you back. I don't want you to get uncomfortable speaking about this, but is there a specific term or diagnosis that you were given that it should be referred to specifically?
Not really, to be honest. It was just, as just nothing really new, just concussion things, like post concussion things. And we just had to deal with it in a certain way. And it just took some time to figure that out, but I'm just glad we were past that, and that it just feels great to be able to be myself. So I'm just very excited for that.
And then I kind of wanted to ask you about the moment when you went to the scores table to check in the first half, and you hear the entire stadium kind of notice that you're going over there. What was that moment like to hear the roar of the crowd for you again for the first time in 2 months?
I could have cried if easily. I could have cried, but I was crying in the inside, just so just happy tears, just so proud and so thankful to be back on the court. When you go through a tough injury like this, you think of the worst, and once again, so many expectations and so much for this year that I was looking forward to, because I'm that kind of guy. Like, I live up to the expectation. I like the challenges, and that's what I came to America for. So knowing that the fans were excited to for me to be back was just a great thing and a great feeling, and just so proud. And I'm not that kind of guy to say I'm always so proud of myself, but I was just kind of proud of myself in that moment, because once again, I've never been through this kind of injury before, and it was a long time that I couldn't really play the game of basketball. So I was just proud of myself, and very thankful with the fans and everybody that supported me throughout the process.
And then if I could get one quick last follow-up, you said you had the layup to tie the game at 69-69, the reverse layup where you switched hands. Can you walk me through that play? Because I've watched it several times, and it honestly reminds me of like the Jordan layup where he switches hands midair.
It's funny, man, because my brother and one of our friends were here, and before, the day before, I was like, okay, like, if I get to play, like, I may have the greatest game of my life, I think. And I just kind of had that feeling, like, I'm like, okay, like, if I play, I'm telling y'all, man, I'm gonna have it. And that game, that play was happening, and the night before, I was on Instagram for some reason, and I've seen this Instagram reel, some guy just saying, these are the 4 types of hooper like you don't want to face, and the first one was like the hip swivel, and I was like, wow, like that thing looks really nice and really interesting move. Like, I've never kind of done it before. I might have to do that, like, at some point. Game comes in, and I know the run, the play we're running, and we get the switch, and I as soon as I got that switch, I saw green light. And I kind of, where I was, I just knew that I was going to be able to do that move. And, once I did that dribble, and if you look at the play, I kind of do like a hip swivel, and then I do one more dribble or two, drive baseline. And if you don't, knowing the defender and knowing the game of basketball, like, you're going to close me. If I drive, you're going to close the baseline, which led me to doing the spin move. And then I knew Edie was going to come help, because it's tight game. It's for to go to overtime. So I knew he was going to come help, try and block or do something. So, like, that's why I didn't even shoot it with the left. I just kind of like switched it back again to my right, because I knew if I went up with my left, he could have had a chance to block and being 7-4. So definitely, really good play. I definitely watched the play about 1,000,000 times after, just because I like studying and studying that kind of plays, because I like giving this kind of breakdowns. I think it's kind of cool for people to know, like, how I see things and why I did things and why I did that, why I did this. Because you may see something and you're like, oh, why did he do that? But like, here I am explaining why I did it. And I think it's, it's cool for people to see, how I see the game.
Yeah, thank you, Andre. That was a great story. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Andre, Coach talked about your return process being a lot, just how you handled maybe a day of activity the next day. So how did 26 minutes of gameplay feel on Tuesday and maybe Wednesday?
It felt weird just because we lost, and I kind of had a good game, knowing that it was my first game back in almost 2 months. But it's a weird feeling when you're back and when you want to win your first day back and you lose. So it wasn't, it was good. Obviously, it was a good feeling, just because I'm back and I felt pretty good about how I played. Obviously, got to keep tightening things up because there was a few mistakes down the stretch where I could have been better and we all could have been better. But definitely we're feeling just because first day back, you want to win. You have a good game, but you still lose. So as a player, you're in a tough spot in those kind of moments.
Yeah, and I guess in the not quite 2 months that you didn't play, did you learn anything maybe about your teammates or about this team?
Oh yeah, I learned a lot of things. One of them, I know Trent Frazier can be pretty good on the ball, and as a point guard, he just got to believe in himself. And if he, I love seeing him play from the sidelines, and I learned a lot from him. Some moves that I'm like, wow, like I got to do that. I learned many other things during practice, seeing how guys react to things in games. Kind of new, not new, like now I kind of know how to approach, all like different guys, because sometimes they make a mistake and, I may come to them like, yo, like, let's go, come on, like maybe too aggressive. But now from, being in the sideline, I might have saw something that, if you come too aggressive, he may not react, too well to that. So, I will come to that guy in a calm way. Hey, like, let's go. Like, next play, you're good. Like, don't worry about that. Just little things like that. I was able to pick up, and I'm just, once again glad that I took the time, because if I would have rushed things, like I might have, not been able to be back to be myself. But the time that I was out, it was a great time to learn from, guys like Trent, Plummer, DeMonte, that are veterans, and, just happy, they're happy I'm back, and I'm just happy that we're back, working together.
Thank you.
Andre, to echo everybody, good to see you back and feeling a little bit better here. I wanted to ask, kind of follow up with that, watching from the sidelines. Obviously, early on in the season, it was a much different team with guys out, Kofi out, and you had to probably carry a heavy load. How do you fit back into this team after watching them have some success?
Just kind of do whatever I got to do to win. I'm once again, like, I'm coming back, and I'm the one that got to fit into, their playing style, if that makes sense, or, with whatever they're doing at the moment. So I'm just here to, for them. Like right now, like I'm not even thinking like I'm this or I'm that. Like I'm just here for whoever needs me. Like if you need me to do this, I'll do it. If you need me to do that, I'll do that. Whatever needs to be done. Like I feel like I'll probably be that kind of guy that will do it. Like whether it's an assist, whether it's a rebound, like whatever it is, like I'm just here to, as long as we get the win, like I'll do whatever it takes.
Is that any different than what you felt coming into the year with some people calling you All-American, all of that? Did you have a mindset shift change while you're sitting on the bench there?
Not really. Just because, like, I still think that I'm, a good point guard. I'm not gonna sit here and praise myself and say I'm this, I'm that, because I'll just let the people say whatever they want, and the people can make that judgment. I know the kind of player I am. Like I don't need any of that. But it's kind of same mindset. Like I'm gonna do whatever it takes to win, and I think that's kind of what I did last game. Having Trent Frazier playing almost fifth, like the whole game, like it's not he at times may not be able to, take care of business down the stretch just because like he's, tired, or maybe we may not be able to give Kofi the ball because he's in foul trouble and he's in the bench. So, I came in and, did what I had to do, and I scored 20 points and had 3 assists. I had to score 20, you know what I mean? So, and got 6 boards. So, I just kind of did what I had to do. And, I think that's going to be my mentality, just going forward, for Friday game and, every other game too.
Thanks, Andre.
Andre, having been through the other side of this now, is there anything through your experience that you think might be able to help somebody else who might be going through something similar to your situation?
Yeah, definitely. Find like whenever there's a time like this, like you got to make sure you have the right support and the right people around you, because it can get very lonely, you know what I mean, if you don't know how to deal with it. And it happened to me. Like, I'm a guy that don't really speak about a lot of things to people. And there was time where, I didn't really want to, speak up about how I was feeling. I would just deal with it in my, on my own. And that can get challenging because, you just pretty much it's you by yourself trying to, fight a situation that you as a person clearly know that you need help and you need somebody to support you. But because of how I am, I may not do that, you know what I mean? So like, you got to challenge yourself to get out of your comfort zone and, speak about the situation and speak about your feelings, because it's important to be in a good mental space for sure. To be able to play the game of basketball or, a job or whatever it is. I'm sure for you guys, especially having to do so many Zooms and so many things, like you guys may go crazy at times. So even for people like, older, it don't gotta be just us players. Like, it can be older people too. Like, it's always good to, not hold things inside and just always like let things go. Whether it's with your wife, your mother, your father, whatever it is, just, always have somebody to talk to, because it's always good to, to let things go.
Thanks, Andre.